right, let's see if I can share this with Evie and Paige. I don't know if it's gonna let me do it sideways. Maybe I have to do it this way. Ah! Technical difficulties. Tactical problems. Hold on. There we go. There's Evie. Invite. There's Paige. Invite. I'm a hot mess. I'm trying to pull everything up.
Hello, I'm trying to figure my life out.
Oh, good. Me too, man.
I mean, preach.
Can you tell I was just having a mental breakdown like 10 minutes ago? Are we good?
I cannot tell.
Awesome.
Well, I need to warn everybody, I am sick. So if I mute and go away for a minute, I am having a sneezing fit. And I'll be back.
Yeah,
sorry.
It's all good.
It's not your fault.
It's a sympathetic, empathetic sorry.
Well, I am trying this on my iPad because my phone is one of the ones that folds and opens and there's a pain on the stand. So we'll see how this goes. Am I echoing on your end? Okay, good. Hi, PJ. Hey, Jen. All right. So sorry Brian couldn't join us tonight for Friday Night Rights. He needs a mental health day, as we all do, from time to time.
Understandable.
But we are really, really excited to have you. Let me get my questions pulled up.
Thanks.
Because they're different for narrators than authors. It's fancy questions.
Fancy.
And my camera is not where it's supposed to be, so I am looking at you when I'm looking this way.
It's okay. You don't have to look at me. That's part of my job is no one can see me.
Yeah, me too.
Right?
Let's see, I got it. Oh, hold on. My dog wants her dog bed down, apparently. Excuse me, sugar.
Oh, I downloaded the questions. God, I'm smart, except for the part where I didn't remember I downloaded them.
That's okay. It happens. All right. So welcome to Friday Night Rights, where the points are made up and they really don't matter. Oh, wait, that's someone else's.
No one told me this was improv. I need to go.
I'm Samantha Moran, horror, thriller, and fantasy. We have Evie with us tonight. Brian's not here. Evie, do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Are we doing the whole spiel, or are we?
You just don't like to go before me or after me, so.
Okay. I'm Evie Black. Awesome books, awkward marketing. I'm also sick, so don't mind me. My brain's working at 5% this evening, so if I say something wrong, just go, ha ha, oh Evie, and we'll move on. All right, I wrote Unbalanced as if Hugh Jackman's Van Helsing and Supernatural had an angsty slow burn baby. Leona, she's a badass with thick thighs who ends lives, and Xandros is the simp that calls her abuse foreplay. We're talking bear shifters and reverse bully. It's my favorite. Abyssal, Donovan's a dick. Shadow Daddies, Witches, New Powers, abusive relationship.
Yeah, that's the whole tagline for Abyssal. Donovan's a dick. It works.
It's actually in the blurb.
I actually just finished reading Leona today, and it was awesome, just so you know. So I've now read all 3 of Evie's books.
Yay.
So I do horror, thriller, and fantasy, Dealings in the Dark, and Bound and Betrayed, which Paige has narrated for me. This is Witches, Demons, Hellhounds, A Deal Gone Wrong in 48 Hours to Save Her Soul, and Schizophrenia versus Demonic Possession, 1 and 2 in a series. This is spooky, spicy, Alice in Wonderland reimagining. Please check your triggers. Your mental health is more important than my sales. This is urban fantasy with a little medical thriller and a dash of romance. And then this is love, loss, and life after someone is gone. Paige, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, Lord. Hi, I'm Paige. I narrate books. I've narrated for her. I've narrated for Brian, who's not here. I was a voice major. I don't know what to say about me.
Soprano, right?
Yeah.
And you have a thing for hats.
I do have a thing for hats. I do. If they were unpacked, I'd wear like a different one every time you asked a question. But they're still, I haven't unpacked the house because we just moved in March. I mean, that was practically last week. So
Yeah, we came home from, was it Booked in Chaos in South Carolina, and I unpacked the suitcase in 2 days, and I was like,
wow.
I still have it unpacked. Like, my kids brought everything from my car, and it's just stacked here, including my suitcase. I haven't done shit.
It just means you're already packed for your next event.
pretty much, yeah.
So
Yeah, no, this was my last OA signing for the year, so I kind of figured I might need my suitcase back, and I decided that I was not going to do the ADD thing and leave it there for 6 months this time. It was a very good choice. It astounded me, Silda. All right, so Paige, at this point, we wanted to announce to the readers that we usually do rehomings for Friday Night Writes, but you have quite a few things on the roster tonight, so we're rehoming more than one thing, correct?
yeah.
Which is exciting. So what are we rehoming today?
Well, I sent 5 audiobook codes, I think it was. I sent one for Dealings in the Dark, which is written by Samantha Moran. And then I did one code for Being Made, which is the really cool, underhyped, like fictional love story memoir by Brian. And then what else did I send? I sent a thriller. It's a dual thriller with me and PJ. Hack. And then I sent a Christmas novella because 'tis the season, right? And it's also called 'Tis the Season. What else did I send? Oh, Girl of Hearts, the first book in the Luck God series. So yeah, so we've got an array of genres there for people. And I was like, if you want to do a bundle or if you want to do 5, it doesn't matter to me.
Well, you've got 2 Michigan authors on that roster, which is pretty cool.
I do. J. Gabriel Gates.
Yeah, he's from about a half hour from me, and that was a really good book. I listened to you narrate that one. It was super fun.
The 4th one is done, and the series is complete, and it's in QC. So
nice.
Soon.
Very, very exciting. Yeah, I have the whole like Kickstarter bundle that he did.
Nice. Those are beautiful. Those are beautiful.
All right, so tonight, if you want to be involved in this rehoming of 5 awesome audiobooks, all we're going to ask you to do is drop headphones in the comments. And Evie is going to take care of that on her spinny wheel of awesomeness. Remember that we reward you for sticking around, so we're going to give you multiple opportunities to be a part of that rehoming. But the headphones emoji right down there. And please share this live and like this live so we can get Paige out to as many amazing people in this book community as we can, because we want all eyes on her tonight. Okay?
Ears, though, but mostly ears.
Hi. Well, yeah. I mean, I can like. All right. So, Paige, where are you from?
I guess Virginia. That's where I've been the longest.
Were you always from Virginia?
I was a military brat. So I was born in Long Beach, and then we moved to Okinawa in Japan, then Pensacola, Florida, then Virginia, then California again, then back to Virginia to start high school. And I've been in Virginia ever since. So we'll say I'm from Virginia.
It's your most common place. Yeah,
right.
I've never gone outside of the U.S. except for one trip in 7th grade to Toronto. That's pretty cool.
I have not been to Canada, actually.
Which is
I've been to Europe, but yeah, I haven't been to Canada.
Well, what do we need to know about Paige Reisenfeld? What makes you awesome?
Oh, God, I don't know. What makes me awesome? I like to read contracts. I like to do accents. I have a lot of cats. They find me, and they don't ever leave. I don't know. Jen, PJ, what makes me awesome?
Wait, how many cats do you have now?
Oh, in the house? In the house right now, there are 8. But the 2 outside ones we bring them into the unfinished part of the basement because it's so cold. Like, it's going to be a wind chill of 18 tonight. And I was like, you come inside. And so they howl at the back door around 7 p.m. to come in. And then we feed them in the morning and at night. But otherwise, we generally let them outside. Although today they were like, no, thank you. It's cold. We're going to stay in here. So they're in the unfinished part of the basement. But they have now been fixed. And we have their litter of kittens, 3 of the 4 of them, because one got rehomed. But we have 3 of them. And Odin has claimed them as his bestest friends ever. So now they can't go anywhere because it took too long for people to want them. I'm like, no, Odin has said they're his bestest friends, and I cannot disappoint the Odin. So,
And Odin's one of
we
the
have
two OGs.
do what
So you
now?
have 2 originally that you're
I
known
have 3
for,
originally.
right? 3
Shireen,
originally.
yeah, Shireen, who lives in our room now. Like, she saw the kittens and she was like, absolutely not. She lived on the kitchen counter in a box with her food and water because she's a drama queen. And then we got the kittens and she was like, absolutely not. So now she lives in our room during the day. And then when we put all of the boys to bed at night, she comes out. But she doesn't really. She'll like go out, be like, what's new? Okay, now I'm going back into your room and sitting on my vanity and staring out my window. So,
Yeah. They even have their own stickers at Paige's table at events.
and now I have to have 3 more, at least 3 more. Because, yeah, now we've got the Walking Shadows kittens because they're named after characters in a book series that PJ and I did. So, yeah.
I have my cat Morticia. She's a little terrorist. She yells at me all the time and demands that I give her food and run water with the
Yes.
from the faucet. Yeah, the reason she's not in here bothering me because I shut the door. Otherwise, she'd be in here walking across.
Yeah, Riker was howling at my door, just like, and then squealing, like scratching at it because he wants in. So, yeah.
Yeah, they usually do that when you're trying to record. They need something.
Oh, yeah.
Fun story, Jen. The sandwich I had from the coffee shop today is also called the Cousin Vinny. So we're on like the New York kind of accent today. Like,
Nice. Very nice.
So, Paige, you gave us quite a broad, list of things. Like being made is, your sports fiction, Dealings in the Dark. You hit spooky. 'Tis the Season by P.S. Nail. A fantastic romance author that I absolutely love and adore. But like, do you limit yourself to genres, or is it just a free for all?
it's a free-for-all. I prefer to genre hop. Otherwise, I get, well, for lack of a better word, bored. Because things, they're formulaic, right? And I don't mean that in a bad way, right? But like romance has to have a happy ever after. Like at the end of a mystery, you need to know who done it. So
Right.
I just like the difference and also the feeling, the atmosphere and just that kind of thing. I like the differentiation. So yeah, I would prefer to switch it up. The only thing I'm not going to do is like far right conservative stuff. So otherwise anything. So
Yeah, I remember when we
do
were
you have
talking about.
a favorite?
Yeah.
no, because I mean I'm very much a mood reader in and of itself. So I will listen to and I go through phases too when I'm listening or when I'm reading. I'll like do like a chunk of like historical fiction and then I'll go and listen to like 5 thrillers and then I'll go and listen to something else. So I'm really just across the board, run the gamut.
I do that too. Read just about everything except nonfiction. So what's your current mood reads? Like what genres or books, if you want to share?
Well, right now I've got so much to prep. I'm not reading for pleasure. But I am in a book club. I just found a bunch of friends down here who have a book club. So, and our book club choice for December is This Is How You Lose the Time War, which is science fiction, but also LGBTQ romance.
Nice. Love rep.
And it's just done in a series of like letters that start out as like taunting each other. And then it kind of like morphs into like, oh, but actually you're kind of, and then other stuff happens and I'm still like listening, but like, yeah. So sci-fi romance is what's happening this month. But
That's awesome.
Yeah,
yeah.
I remember when we talked about you taking on Dealings in the Dark that you said you just liked having a lot of challenges and a lot of different experiences. So that definitely tracks with you being a mood reader too. So it makes it.
And Dealings in the Dark, were like Iroth was a challenge.
Iroth is made
All
to be a
hail
challenge.
Iroth.
All hail Iroth.
Listen, I'm about to torture Matt Christensen because I asked him if he would audition for Wicked Little Rabbit. And the main character only thinks and speaks in sentence fragments in the now chapters. So I
Nice.
was like, I'm sorry. I hope you'll still be my friend later.
That's fun though. That's fun.
That's gonna
It's a
be
huge
awesome.
challenge, but
Challenges are fun.
Yeah. I mean, I don't write in one genre, so I feel very similarly. How many audiobooks are you up to now?
Yeah, because
I just
I went
finished.
on to, when I was making the promo graphic, I just went on to Audible and put your name in, and you have 5 pages.
It's only 2 if you do it 50, but like I'm there. Like I have how many? I have 10 that aren't on Audible. Like the authors don't sell on Audible. They only sell on other platforms because they're like screw Audible and how they treat authors.
Yeah,
So they just don't even put their audiobooks up there. But I just finished number 124.
nice.
Yeah.
That's
So I should have 129 or 130 by the end of the year.
You were cruising because Bound and Betrayed was number 200 or 100, wasn't it? And
It
that like
was.
came out like a couple months ago, right before Sinful Signings.
It was. And now some of them I'm like cheating. Like Blood Lily for Jenny Allen, I literally had 75 words, but still counts.
It's yours. It's
It was like
totally
35 seconds. My name is on it. Still counts.
it does.
yours.
So how long? Now when did you know you wanted to be a voice actor?
Mm. It's a tough question because, like, when I got into anime in like 5th, 6th grade, I was like, this would be so cool. But it was one of those things like, how do you get into that? Who does that? Like, you have to know people, and that's weird, right? But I always thought it would be cool. And then the pandemic happened, and I was no longer doing theater and like classical voice work. So I was like, well, what else can I do? And it's actually my dad who was like, you'd be pretty good at audiobook narrating. And I was like, that could be fun.
Good
So
for
like
Dad.
checked it out, and thanks, Dad. Here I am.
And when did you officially start narrating audiobooks?
I took my first class, like training session, in June of 2021, and my first audiobook was published October 4th of 2021.
And you have this many audiobooks already. So I'm going to assume that you're one of the people who, when they make a commitment to something, kind of dives right in and is like, I am going to do this full out.
Yes, and also we had a lot of help. Like my parents paid for my training,
That's
paid
so
for my
nice.
sessions, and then PJ's parents helped us get that sound booth, the studio brick that he's in, which helped us do a lot more. If I had just been in the initial booth we made, there would have been no way that I would have been able to do what I needed to do. So it was a combination of that tenacity, but also a lot of financial help, which not everybody has, and we were blessed to have that.
That is awesome. That's really
Those
awesome.
your booths and stuff have to, like, your booth and your equipment have to meet a certain like level of what is the word I'm thinking of?
Like engineering standards, maybe, or sound
Yeah.
quality.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
technical specifications.
Yeah.
And you can do some of that in post, but it really shouldn't be in post. Like noise reduction, because that can take out, the frequencies in the voice, et cetera, especially if it's very aggressive. And just we were over a crawl space. There was a lot of bass in our old city. So like everything rumbled, and there is no sound booth that will keep out bass. Like it just needs matter, like hard matter and multiple surfaces. So
Yeah. I remember that when you were recording Dealings in the Dark, you're like, bass every 15 minutes. And you had to
oh
stop.
yeah, it was not
Allie
great.
was recording unbalanced. She'd be talking and then that's a truck.
Yep. The truck rumble, the airplane, like
Well, now it's your
Where-
stomach. I remember that when you were filming.
now
Bound.
it's my stomach. Now my stomach will not shut up. Like if it's
goes,
not one thing, it's the another.
Yeah,
Well, that's in the
so,
booth
like,
with you.
when I was in the army, every year you had to do a hearing test, right? And they put you in the soundproof room with like 5 other people, and you got your headphones, and you just press the little thing. And it's like every single time, it didn't matter if I ate, if I didn't eat, if I ate 3 hours before, it didn't matter. But every time I'd get into one of those, my stomach would start rumbling. And that was the only sound you heard. And I was like, dang it.
It knows. Somehow it knows. It's like this is the worst time for this to happen, so it's gonna happen.
You guys just reminded me that John brought me a protein bar because the only thing I've eaten today is an apple. So I was like, I should probably put food in my face.
Mm.
I had a
PJ made
huge
spaghetti.
helping I had leftover mashed potatoes.
Also good.
My
Yum.
throat hurts.
We did
Yum.
not
So-
bring any leftovers home. We came home empty-handed.
Matt, we were just talking about you.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
You were mentioned, Matt. Yes.
About how I'm just about to torture you. Now,
So,
go ahead.
go ahead. Sorry, Sam.
That's okay. We usually have 3 people doing it, so our rotation is a little bit off tonight. And we're trying to figure it out. So you've been doing voice acting for a while. And like I said, I know that you love hats. I know that you had other gigs when you were living at your old house. But do you have hobbies outside of voice acting or any other careers that you're trying to maintain?
No other like careers or anything. I would love to actually get back into some of my other hobbies in my free time. Like I have a yarn collection that has acquired beyond life expectancy. So I'd love to get back into my knitting or my sewing. I used to sew a lot of like vintage style clothing and patterns and stuff, but
That's
I also need to get that room in order, which means I need a shelf to put my fabric on. So,
And you have to unpack everything. I mean,
and I can't unpack everything until I get that shelf. Like,
right.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
like a circle.
Yeah. I was able to play Dragon Age Veilguard because I'd loved a video game. And also it was a business expense. I'm just studying their voices. But, yeah, I'm about to start like the very end of it where they're like, hey, if you start this, you can't go back.
Right.
So I'm like, all right, well, I have to go back and do all the map discoveries and make sure I didn't miss anything. And so, yeah.
Listen, you said free time, and I'm still trying to figure out what that is. So I'm a little hung up.
Yeah, I have no idea. No idea. Like I finished what I need to finish this week, so I did not have to record today, and I can actually go see my parents tomorrow.
You mentioned, knitting and sewing and playing games and stuff. Have you ever read characters that do this, that enjoy the same thing?
Not knitting and crocheting or sewing so much, but I actually did get cast in a book called Love Across the Tabletop, which is about D&D, like a little romance across like a D&D table. So I'm super excited about that.
That's awesome.
Be very, very fun.
We, as members of the community, tend to have some like social things that we have strong feelings about or causes that we support. Do you have any causes or social things that you support outside of narrating?
Anything involving animals. It's like
I never would have guessed that for you.
I know. Who'd have thought? Who'd have thought? I mean, well, we're like single-handedly keeping the SPCA here in the money with like every time we take a cat in, we're like, hey, can you fix it, give it shots, like do the thing to the cat. Although the community here was very nice. They actually helped fund a lot of that. So it was very kind of them to help us with that because 2 of the kittens were ill when we got them. So
yeah. You need a sign for your door now that says Paige and PJ's Zoo.
yeah. The cat sanctuary.
Mm-hmm.
There's another tabby outside that I'm pretty sure is Shade's brother, but he's very, very skittish. Will not come near if I take like a step toward him, even if I have food. But I saw him through the window of our upstairs and he's like under our neighbor's porch. So I'm like, okay, well, at least he's like sheltered and out of the icky wind.
Yeah.
So, and there's a tux, the tux going by. I was like, you're Maverick's dad. You look exactly like him. You're the tux's daddy. And he's big. He's big and he's fluffy. But I'm like, someone feeds you, sir. Like you're huge. Someone feeds you. You're fine.
And then you're a part of the Femme Audio Takeover here on TikTok, right? Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So we had been talking about it for a fair bit, but like with the overturning of Roe versus Wade. And then there was also, some guys here on the app who were like, we're going to give you the audiobook app you never knew you wanted, but you always wish you had. We did absolutely no research. And here's a guy chopping wood who's going to read books for you with absolutely no. And talking about like they want to recruit narrators and they're going to churn out like 30 hours a week. And I'm like, for $68,000 a year. And I'm like, But anyway, that was all. There was such a, like, look at the men who are going to do this. And we're like, you know what? We're tired of doing 80% of a book and getting either lambasted for whatever reason or ignored entirely. So Ruthie, Allie, it was really Ruthie and Allie. I was along for the ride. I was like, you guys are smart. But it was Ruthie and Allie's thing to actually, this was their idea to actually do something with it. And I was like, I fully support you. Just tell me what videos to make to support it. Like, yes. So we do it. We aim for twice a year now. I mean, we've done it a little more, and we did like Sapphic September, but basically just an author, if they have a character who is kind of reclaiming her power, and that can be in many different ways, right? It can be on the battlefield, it can be in the bedroom, it can be healing, time with families, just some kind of a woman's strength. If you have a character, it's usually 250 words, and we narrate that snippet, and we pick a day, and we just kind of flood the FYP with that, just to give us and everything that femme narrators do a little more recognition and appreciation. So,
which is really important because you guys do a lot of work, especially in the romance industry with female POV written books. Like those are everywhere.
They are. You don't see a whole lot of solo male POV. I mean, when you get into the yes, but not frequently.
Yeah.
Not frequently.
Well, it's the growling.
Year you did it. I gave part of Unbalanced to Allie, and that's when I knew I wanted her to read for Lucy, because I was like, you did it perfect. And then last year, part of Leona was read by Danielle Mutang. Is that how you say it? Mutang?
I know who you mean, but I don't know how to say her last name either.
I don't know how to say it either, and I'm butchering it, I'm sure. But yeah, I always look forward to the Femme Takeover.
It's a lot of fun. And I mean, it not only does it help us, but I mean, it gets authors out there, right? It's a mutually beneficial marketing, just fun event. My TBR gets longer every time.
Well, also, it's very addictive as an author to have your book read out loud by a professional narrator. I'm just going to put that out there. Because I was like, I could never afford an audiobook, but they're doing this thing. And so I just want to support this narrator that I love. And so I gave you a snippet. And then what do you know? I had an audiobook 4 months later.
And I appreciate that.
Addictive it is, because I can't even listen to the entirety of my one audiobook because of Matt. And I'm like, he's like literally going to take money from me the rest of my life. Because he's fucking fantastic.
Oh, yeah. Paige is Cursed Souls narrator 100%. I'm hoping that I'll have Paige do the Ruin someday when I can scrounge up enough change on that one.
Speaking of Allie, she just came in here too.
Allie Dane. Allie Dane is one of my besties.
Yes.
I love Allie.
Yeah, we started around the same time. So like Ruthie and I kind of like bonded as like, here we are, kind of not really knowing what we're doing, but knowing what we're doing. Like, so.
I got to see you and Allie and Ruthie at Sinful Year 1. And I don't think I saw Ruthie last year, but I saw you and Allie again last year, which is really cool. And I loved when they did the narrator panel when you guys were talking about your professions and stuff. That was so cool. It was awesome.
It was fun. Okay, yeah, Allie's currently proofing a book that PJ and I just did. So
nice.
I know Allie's with avocados and otters. But what are some of your favorite things, Paige? It could be animals, candies, whatever you feel like sharing.
Hats. I do have like 60 of them when I'm not like a bum and I'm not relegated to my one hat for my branding.
I'm wearing a Snorlax hoodie. Like,
I love it. Sour blockheads. They're like Sour Patch Kids, but exponentially better. And they're like a Rural King only candy.
Okay.
They're so good. Like Sour Patch Kids, I do like half a bag and I'm like, okay, I'm done. Like, I'm fine. Like, it's too much sugar. I can finish like a pound of Sour Blockheads in a sitting and I'm like, this is really good. And then I feel ill later, but I was like, worth it. I love Sour Blockheads. I can't
do that because I pucker really bad. And then like the inside of my cheeks, because I'm like, and then my cheeks feel weird. I can't do it.
That's fair. I mean, I've numbed my tongue before doing it. I'm like, still worth it.
Do you remember when we were kids? I don't even know if they still sell them, but they used to sell giant jawbreakers. They were like this, and you would, as a kid, you had to like lick straight through them because they were rainbow on the inside. It was almost a competition who could do that. I shaved my tongue raw on one of those jawbreakers.
Candy did not mess around.
They don't sell them in regular stores, but if you go to actual candy shops, they'll sell the big ass jawbreakers.
Oh wow!
Yeah, we used to get them on
Nice.
field trips and have competitions on the bus. The candy would make you bleed.
See, y'all were sitting there like sucking on it forever. I put it in a bag and took a hammer to it, and then had little pieces that I could.
Cheater, cheater.
Yes, hats and cats. You're right, Allie. Hats and
Yeah.
cats.
And orange
Hats,
has
cats,
sort of become your
vintage
thing.
clothing. Yeah, yeah, orange everything.
Now, wasn't that accidental branding the orange?
It was.
How did that happen?
I had a quick pitch, which is something that the Audio Publishers Association runs, where you basically go up, you have 3 minutes in front of a panel of publishers and production companies to pitch yourself, basically, what you're good at, what you like, etc. So I took a class on because I wrote out, I'm like, well, this is like 30 seconds and I have 3 minutes. What now? So I signed up for a class with Jennifer Aquino, who does this class, and she's so good at it. And she helped me develop like a spiel. But in that, she was like, well, talk about what you like. So I talked about my hats. And I worked at a vintage shop at the time. So I was constantly getting new hats and new clothing. And she was like, well, why don't you wear one for the pitch, just to like demonstrate? And I was like, okay, cool. Well, I'll have to find one where the brim is short enough that I don't hit the pop screen if I like lean my head forward. So I was like, oh, well, I just got this orange one that's like got a short brim. It's kind of like 20s, but also 60s. And yeah, so I wore that. And then, but it was right before APAC, which is the Audio Publishers Association conference. So when I sent my reach outs afterwards, like, thank you so much for listening to me. Here's a recap of everything I said. Looking forward to working with you. I got a lot of responses back there like, we'll see you at APAC, looking for the orange hat. And I was like, fuck. So I had to wear the orange hat.
And now you wear it all the time.
Now I wear it all the time. Now it's like my invisibility cloak or like incognito mode. I can take it off and nobody knows me. I put it back on and then everyone's like, it's a beacon.
Yeah. Paige Reisenfeld's
That's
the new
like me
Carmen
in the
Sandiego.
tiny hands.
Yeah. I don't have that, but I accidentally branded myself with Happy Hauntings and Happy Reading.
I love it.
Started it in like October of 2022 when I first started publishing. And so now it's a thing and I have a whole like side and
Yeah.
But it helps people recognize it, And then I ended up being the author who's happily never afters because happily
I like
ever
that too.
afters is overrated. Yeah. Now Brian's got to sign off. Evie's got her awesome books and awkward marketing. It just sort of happens. So
Yep. Everyone's always like branding and I'm like, I can't come up with it on my own. Somebody has to give it to me.
yeah, I got to do some rebranding with like colors and web design and stuff because what I had before was not very horror-y. It was just like I'm an author. So now I got to redo some of that. But branding is difficult, especially when you have to change it. It has to be just enough the same, but a little different. And it's really hard to find your niche.
Yeah. I thought about doing something for like every genre, like somehow taking that comic photo that I have that I use as like my avatar and like, oh, is it sci-fi? Give me a little like astronaut helmet. Like, is it a romance? Give me like a little heart or something like that. But I'm like, oh, but that's a lot of work.
That would be
And nobody
cute,
got time
though.
for that.
On the little heart headbands with like
Right. Yeah, like no one's got time for that.
It's cute, super cute. So you didn't always have plans to be a narrator, right? So what did you want to be when you grew up? Nobody.
Oh God, which year? When I mean, it always changed. I think my first memory, I was in 4th grade and I decided I was going to be an architect and an interior decorator and interior designer and own my own firm. And that lasted for about 2 years, I think. And like computers were just like with like the web were like just coming to like mainstream. I'm aging myself. But there was an architecture program like called like Branderware or something or other. And I had a subscription to Architectural Digest. And I would like build and like that kind of stuff. And it was so you could only choose like 2 colors though. So you couldn't design. And that drove me insane. Like the furniture all had to be one color. I hated it. But anyway, I was like, this is a lot of math. I don't like it very much. So I changed my mind. 7th and 8th grade, I don't even remember. And then I was like, I'm going to go to school for voice. And I'm going to be on the stage and do opera. And then I didn't get in to the very first school that I auditioned for voice. And I was like, oh, okay, well, there's that. And I was doing interdisciplinary studies, which is like 2 minors makes a major. Mm-hmm. And I was doing Russian. And then Russian, because they didn't have a major, but you could do 2 minors. So it was Russian and Russian area studies. And then I was like, I was doing cosplay at the time, like at anime conventions. And I was like, oh, I'll just do the apparel design major and then I'll be like really good at costumes and like sewing and stuff. Cool. I don't ever actually want to go into the industry, but like I'll have my interdisciplinary studies. So I was going to double major. And then weird bureaucracy happens. I ended up not getting the double major for IDST because something shifted where when they put my major as apparel design, it had to be listed as my primary. So I wasn't getting emails about what needed to be included for my secondary, but I was still getting emails to meet with my advisor for that department. I went in my senior year and they're like, oh, you're missing like 18 credit hours of these required IDST courses. And I was like, excuse me, how?
Right.
How? And they're like, well, you... And they were like, well, you can just take them here, here, and here. And I was like, I'm a senior and you want me to take intro to IDST, like a 1000 level course where they like teach you how to think? No. So I ended up just doing a Russian minor instead, 2 Russian minors without the major. And then I graduated and I started working in finance. Yeah. And then I started writing grants for cancer. That was in the housing bubble of 2008. And then I went, then I participated in an online and virtual choir. If you look up Eric Whitaker's virtual choir, I was one of the original participants in that, and it got bigger. And then I auditioned and got accepted to go sing at Carnegie Hall as part of like his choir of angels for a big production.
That's super cool.
And after that experience, because there were 400 of us in the choir, it was just like magical, amazing sensation. I came back and I was like, how am I supposed to sit at a desk after doing that?
Yeah.
And so I took voice lessons again and I re-auditioned and I got accepted at VCU for my classical voice degree. So I did finally get my classical voice degree. And then they were like, you're awful, be an art admin. And I was like, no. Also, I'm getting B's, so I'm not awful.
Right.
Like my technique, I was getting 7s out of 10. So like not fantastic, but definitely not awful. And my performance was always a 10 out of 10. Anyway, I met PJ singing in a church choir, and he was like, you should come do musical theater with me. So I auditioned for the children's theater that he worked at and some main stage around there, and that's what I did until the pandemic. And so I'm still using all of that vocal stuff, but...
Yeah. It's funny how the things that you think you're going to end up doing aren't the things you actually end up doing. Because I did a similar thing to you. I was an English and history education major, and I got down to my last semester, and they were like, well, you're out of student loan money. And I was like, oh, then I'm out of education time. So what can I do with this information? And I ended up being 1 class shy of being a double major in English and history. But it was going to cost me $4,000 out of pocket that I didn't have. So I was like, all right, I'm a super overqualified history minor. And then I taught English for 7 years. And now I'm writing and editing books. I'm not even teaching anymore. So the journey is always kind of crazy to where you actually end up, and it still has so much potential to change as your life goes on.
Absolutely.
It's a fascinating thing we talk to our kids about all the time. But yeah, Evie, did you end up being who you thought you were going to be when you grew up?
Hell no. First, I wanted to be president. Okay. And then, like, the next week, I wanted to be a cryptozoologist and find Bigfoot.
I'm on board.
Right. I was convinced I could find Atlantis. Right. It was just about looking at the clues with the right perspective. Wanted to own my own sports bar and grill. I kind of bounced all over the place. And then I joined the Army. I have a whopping 6 college credits.
Nice.
Yeah. A history credit. I took one history class. I took an art appreciation class, which I failed because apparently I can't appreciate art. And then I took a math class that I barely passed, and that was only because Jonathan helped me with it. But I figured I was going to be in the Army for 20 years. What did I need a college education for? And, then the Army broke me and said, get the fuck out. And now I write books.
I laugh because I don't know what else to do. I'm sorry the Army broke you.
Yeah.
It breaks a lot of people, unfortunately. My brain just broke itself. It's like Swiss cheese in there. I don't know what happened. So
It is now the time where we remind y'all that we are rehoming some books. We actually have a mega super duper schmiv this evening, courtesy of the wonderful Paige Reisenfeld. We are giving away five. We have Being Made by Brian Scala, Dealings in the Dark by Samantha Moran, Girl of Hearts, which is book 1 in the Luck God series by J. Gabriel Gates, Tis the Season to be Bitten by P.S. Snail, and When They Disappeared by Addison Michael. All of them have been narrated by the fantastic Paige. So, yep, if you would like to be entered, drop the little headphones emoji down below in the comments, and I will put you on the wheel of names. If you stick around for the whole show, you get extra entries every time we announce the rehoming. So,
Yes.
more chances to win.
And don't forget to like and share this live. We want as many eyes and ears on Paige as possible. We want to hear everything we can about the awesome Paige Reisenfeld.
I'm not that interesting, though.
You are very interesting. Stop that self-deprecating. That's not allowed. We're boosting.
Catalina, you already have like all of those books. Stop it.
Well, maybe she'll give them to someone who doesn't.
Fair.
So what was your first audiobook that you ever narrated?
Oy. My first audiobook is called The Secret of the Grand Hôtel du Lac. It is historical fiction, World War II. A British agent is sent to France undercover to help smuggle Jews out of France into Switzerland across the Jura Mountains.
That sounds
I think it was the
fascinating.
third audiobook I ever auditioned for. Don't listen to it. It's not awful, but like, it's not great. It was definitely like finding, I mean, it's like anything, right? Yes, I had training, I had classes, but at the same time, you find a stride, you find your voice, you find what you were, you find your style as you're doing it. It was a lot of accent work, which is a lot of fun. Like, so I narrated in my voice, but obviously it's the British intelligence, so they're British, but then she goes undercover, so French, a lot of French accents, a little bit of German. I think there may have even been a couple Italian accents in there. So it was a very ambitious first project.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, it was, it could have been. I had just finished listening to The Black Swan narrated by Nancy Peterson, so I was in my historical fiction World War II like gung-ho phase. So I was like, yes! But yeah, it's interesting. And also like I was still figuring out the sound thing. So I'm pretty sure there's a chapter where you hear a truck rumble on the way by, and I'm like, German cars.
Just sound effects.
Yeah. Foley sounds. Yeah. So
Now, we all learn on our journeys. I mean, you narrated Dealings in the Dark for me, and I gotta tell you, out of all of my books, that's my least favorite book because I wrote it in 3 weeks, sick as a dog, and it was the first, like, finished big piece that I ever published. It's still a novella. But when you read it, and I heard my characters actually exist, that book has, like, a much better place in my heart now than it used to.
I thought it was great, but it's funny because you say that because I listened to, like, when I was listening, because there's a scene in Bound and Betrayed that's also in Dealings in the Dark, but from the other side. But I had to go back and listen to what I did to match the conversation. And I was listening to what I did, and I was like, oh no, why did I do that? Who said that? Who narrated this? Like, they're fired. Like, and I was like, I have to tell Samantha, like, I'm so sorry. Like, I am so much better now. Like, so it's funny, like, how we all have that, like, the progression. We're always getting better.
Well,
So,
and we're always our own worst critics too. That's
also
something I
that.
like, because when you read Dealings in the Dark out loud, and I got to hear the characters come to life, I was super excited about that. But then I noticed all of the sentences that started with I was like, oh my gosh, how many times did I start?
You know, which is
So now I have this
funny.
fixation.
She hates on that book so much. But let me tell you, I read it and I went through, you know, like you'll read a book and you may see a typo because all books have typos.
Sure.
But for the most part you forget about it. It's no big deal. But I finished reading it and I said, I don't remember seeing one typo, one issue with this book. And so I messaged her. I said, who's your editor? And she said, oh, I'm an editor. I edit myself. And I said, well, you're editing for me now too.
To be fair, Paige helped me catch a couple of typos because it's different when someone else reads things out loud. You're always going to catch something when someone else reads to you.
I know when Matt and Allie were reading Unbalanced, I sat there with a physical copy of my book, highlighting things like, yep, that's trash. That's trash. I can't believe my editor at the time let that slide. What the fuck?
Well, and then one of my things that I have kind of a fixation on is repetition. And so I gave Evie a complex on accident. So
tell me about it. Now I'll have like a paragraph. That's like a chunky paragraph, and I'm like, oh no, I used the same word twice. I can't use it. What's another word for, a knife?
Stabby object.
Yeah, and I'll go through and I'll highlight. I'm like, you did this to me. Look at what you did. It
was my bad. To be fair, Kennedy Sutton did it to me, so.
And you say that, but like I narrated it and I didn't notice too many sentences starting with I. And that is something that you do notice. Like what I do notice a lot is when a lot of sentences start with an ing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Kennedy Sutton gave me a complex about sentences starting with I. And then my local writer group gave me a fixation on repetition because one lady leaned in and goes, do you own a thesaurus? And I was like, I sure as fuck do now. Thanks.
Wow.
Thank you very much. But the thing is, like, we always criticize ourselves, but you didn't hear it, and the other people in here don't have the same problems I do. And so it's really nice when someone else appreciates your stuff, and you get to watch yourself grow. And honestly, everybody needs that first work. Brian always hates on being made. She talks about Unbalanced. I'm always going to talk about Dealings in the Dark, and you have your first audiobook.
And it's funny because I loved being made. Like, again, I say it's underhyped. I had so much fun. He's like, well, there are things I would change. I'm like, well, yeah, there are things that we can always change. Right. But that doesn't mean it's bad.
Yeah, he's tough on that book. I think Eddie the Legend was his evolution a little bit, but there's something unique about the way Brian writes. And I kind of wish he was here tonight so he could talk about that book because he never does. Never ever.
I wish he would because it's so good. It was so fun.
You get pieces of Brian in his books, and they're really quite beautiful. Mm-hmm. So,
all right. So I need you. I know you have a lot in your backlog, but I need you to think of either your most popular or your favorite one, whichever you could pick. I need you to describe that audiobook with only 3 emojis.
Do you want me to type the emojis?
No, you can just tell us.
Oh.
I mean, you can if you want to.
Yeah.
Well, now I have to look at the emojis. Hold on.
That one gets everybody.
I didn't realize this was going to be such a hard question.
Pop quiz worth 100 points.
I can't pick a favorite, so... Yeah, I know, right? PJ, pick my favorite child. No, that's easy. Dresden. No problem. It's Dresden.
No, that's really easy. No, look. Mom,
yeah.
You tell each of them when they're alone, you're my favorite. Don't tell the others.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'll tell. I mean, I tell the cats. I'm like, Dresden is my favorite, but you guys are great. Like, it's fine. It's fine. They have their primary humans, and I have my primary feline.
John's parents tell him, your sister's our favorite, but we love you more.
It's fair.
See, I'm not the favorite. My husband is. He can do no
They're
wrong.
they're all listening right now.
Yep. I got demoted, so my grandkids are now the grandkids are. I don't have grandkids. That would be weird. Yeah, the grandkids are the favorite now. 100%. Walk in the door and they're like, oh, Emma and Oliver are here. And I'm like, hi.
No, my husband's the golden child. He can do no wrong. Doesn't matter what he says.
What is that like?
I don't know. I've never been the golden child.
All right, well, I'm going to go with the one that has the most reviews because that's the easiest one. That's the easiest way to do this. There you go. So, a motorcycle, a broomstick, and fire.
Savior.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jennifer Saviano, an amazing audiobook with Paige and PJ.
Paige and PJ.
Mm-hmm. Man, PJ nailed Dean. It was so good. And that was his first audiobook, wasn't it?
It was his first audiobook.
It was, and now when I think of that book series, I always think of you too. Like I can't separate them from each other. It's really amazing. I've read Savior 1 and 2 and Joyride. And I'm waiting.
I love Joyride. Joyride needs more love. Joyride needs more love.
I'm waiting for Legion because he's He's the misunderstood man, and I just want information.
Legion is on the calendar for September of 2025.
Ooh, fancy. Now, this is a really tricky question, too, because it kind of pits your characters that you've narrated against each other a little bit. But do you have a favorite or least favorite? And it could be for difficulty or just because you don't like their attitude or you love their attitude, whatever the case is.
Probably, oh gosh. They're from the same series, so I'm having trouble deciding between the two because it's the first book and the second book. But either Temper from Calamity or Sin from Fiasco, because they're both me in different ways. But they're so fun. They're so fun. I love Constance's writing. The characters are snarky. They're completely damaged, but strong through that damage and are not apologetic about said damage. They're just like, yeah, this is how I am. Like, Temper is called, her name is Temperance, but they call her Temper because she has a bad one. And Sin, her name is Cymbeline, but she's like a bounty hunter and she's super damaged from trauma in her childhood, but she's an oldest child. Like, yeah, just, so one of those two. And they're similar, but they're not the same. And it was really cool to, I got Calamity, and then it was supposed to, I think it's a 4-book series, but it's a different POV for each one. So I was like, okay, well, I got Calamity. I'm not going to be doing any other ones. And they came back to me. They're like, we love what you did with the first one. We want you to audition for the second one. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And I auditioned, and they were like, yeah, perfect. We want you for Sin also. And I was like, okay. So.
I mean, if you have the vibe, you have the vibe. Cursed Souls, every character is going to be different POV as well, but you're the Cursed Souls narrator, like 100%. So
I'm doing a rom-com that's 6 books, and they're all first-person sisters and a cousin. So yeah, it's a lot of fun to do that.
Now, which character was the biggest pain, though?
The biggest pain? Anyone who's an extrovert. Like, probably the one the biggest pain probably most recently was Things I Overshared, because she is too much. That's the whole trope, is that everyone tells her she's too much because she's into everybody. She's an extrovert. She's right here. My catchphrase to get back into her voice was extrovert. Extrovert. She talks right here. Everything is right here with a smile. This is freaking exhausting for 10 hours. Like, so she was, I mean, I love her character, but it was really hard.
Exhausted me.
Yeah.
Listen, I can extrovert when I need to. Like when I go to shows and I do book signings and stuff, I'm absolutely happy to see you guys and see readers and all this stuff. And then I go home and I'm just like, boom, done.
Yep.
For like 2 weeks. It's a lot.
Whereas this character is like, I go out when I'm tired because I come back recharged. And I'm like, nope.
That's like, I'm really tired. I'm going to run on the treadmill. I would just collapse.
Yeah.
I'm really tired. I just go to sleep.
That sounds nice. My kids are too little for that.
Yeah, so anyone extroverted and happy are the most painful for me.
I think that's telling about who you are.
You know, it's well, that's why my other half is the extrovert, sunshiny. Do you all know Awkward Yeti, that comic? Yeah, heart and brain. That's who we are.
I love it.
Yeah.
So, do you prefer, like, if an author comes to you, you know, like Sam said, you are the Cursed Souls narrator. Do you prefer doing series or a series of standalones, or do you prefer to have just one and done and then you move on to your next project?
I have no preference. I mean, if I fall in love with the world, obviously I would love to be the voice of that world. That's fantastic. But if an author thinks that I'm not the voice for that entire world or wants different narrators for interconnected standalones, that's fine.
Now, series, though, those can be challenging because you have to maintain voices across characters, correct? How do you do that?
I have files. I take sound clips of every single character I do.
That sounds really, really difficult, though, to keep them sorted.
No, just their names.
I feel like, okay, so just using Iroth as an example, because you narrated him. Iroth is very much like Alistair from Has Been Hotel, where he was like, he's like manic, right? But like, I feel like if I had to do that, I would just pass out. Like I wouldn't be able to do the same thing every time, no matter how hard I tried.
Well, something
struggle
to
with
think
that?
about too is that we are not the same every time. I sound different every day, right?
That's true.
Like we as humans don't sound the same all the time. There are months where my voice is down here because I'm tired and this is how I'm talking. And then there are other months where I'm up here, I've got a little more energy, it's a little more forward, it's a little more vibrant and present. And that's just the way it is.
It's
So
the
you
way the
don't,
cookie crumbles.
right. And so characters are no different.
Yeah. Well,
An extrovert has sad days, so maybe their voice is a little crispy that day. Like,
Saviano down here says Iroth is my book side piece. So
understandable.
I have to share a story for you because it's funny. Kennedy Sutton only really listens to audiobooks because she's doing 1,000 things at a time, right? And so she was like, I really want to read Dealings in the Dark. And I said, well, I have an audiobook now. So she downloaded it, okay? And she goes, you can tell Paige this if you want. So we're going through it, and she's messaging me as she's reading Dealings in the Dark. And now Kennedy writes historical pirate romantasy, and it's LGBTQ rep. So she's going through it, and she's thinking of it like a romance book as she's listening to Dealings in the Dark. And she's like, ooh, Iroth, you can do anything you want to me. And she gets to the end, and she's like, yeah, I'm not straight. Paige has confirmed that. It was fantastic.
Yay!
Putting that out there. I have this whole unhinged string of text messages from Kennedy Sutton where she's like telling Iroth he can do all sorts of nasty things to her. So you must have done a great job.
I mean, but Iroth is that. Like, I read it and I was like, yeah, all right. He's got that kind of Crowley vibe too from Supernatural.
Yeah.
I love Crowley.
Right?
His sass. I love
Yes.
his sass.
Yes.
Yeah. He has a little bit of Rowena in him too, though. He's got the very much like part of him that comes across. I'm looking forward to writing more of him in Legacy of Lies because Cursed Souls goes backwards, which is really fun. So I get to bring him back again and again and again because that was an accident. I didn't think anybody was going to read it, and now I have to write a whole series.
Nope, now you do.
This one has promised with heavy intent that if I don't finish Legacy of Lies, she's going to drive to Michigan and stand behind my chair while I write it.
That sounds like a promise, though. Like Sam's like, I'm just not going to write it until he comes to visit.
No, I really feel like she's like sitting here messaging me. I'm not feeling it today, waiting for me to be like, I'm on my way. And instead, I'm just like, hey, if you're not feeling it, that's okay. I'm trying to be supportive and understanding.
Listen, I got distracted by Alice in Wonderland smut, okay? It was a whole thing. Anyway, so one more. We're going to give you another opportunity really quick to be a part of this amazing rehoming that Paige is doing for 5 different audiobooks tonight. So if you would like a chance to win a copy of Dealings in the Dark by me, being made by Brian Scala, Girl of Hearts by J. Gabriel Gates, another Michigan author, 'Tis the Season to be Bitten by Peace Snail, or When They Disappeared by Addison Michael, go ahead and drop headphones in the comments down there because you get extra chances the longer you stick around.
Woo!
Yay! We like to reward people. And Evie's going to go ahead and record those on her spinny awesomeness wheel. So I am going to do the next thing on the list. I just dropped my fidget toy.
PJ.
He's put it every single time. He's on here like 3-4 times already.
We love a supportive partner.
He doesn't know. If he wins, the answer is no. He has them already. But we appreciate the engagement.
All right. So while she's doing that, I'm going to ask you, how do you handle the narrator life balance? Because being a narrator can be very time consuming, right?
I don't know what you just said.
Oh, that doesn't exist like free time?
No. I mean, I tried. I try. And then people are like, so, but this book, I'm like, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I did that with events. But
I
when
don't,
you were at the
PJ.
old house, your schedule was different than at your new house, right? So what was that like?
Amazing to change.
Yeah.
So at the old house, I was getting up at 3 a.m. To be in the booth by 4 to try and get an hour knocked down by 8 because it was so loud. I didn't often succeed. Sometimes it was 35 minutes, 40 minutes for 4 hours of work. And I was getting enough work that wasn't tenable. And PJ was up doing a show, and his booth was up at my parents' house in their basement. So he could do whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted, unless the dryer was running.
It's not salty at all.
Not salty at all. I went up there a couple times when I was on deadlines. I went up there and I was like, get out. I've got things to do. Like, I've got a book. I finished Being Made, which was 10 hours, I think, in like 3 days
Yeah,
because I was
remember that.
uninterrupted. So, but yeah, then we moved. I messaged him. I was like, we're moving. I cannot do this anymore. And we did. And now I can go in the booth anytime.
Which is so nice. That's got to be
It
freeing.
is. It is. And I can knock out like 2 hours. I try to do an hour and a half, 2 hours, because you do a lot more than that and it gets exhausting on the voice. So, but no, it's like today was my first day off. I didn't even prep a book today. PJ, you went downstairs to work and I sat on the couch and I was like, don't pick up the tablet. Don't pick up the tablet.
You took a day off?
I took a day off.
Where is the party popper?
Right? We went and we got a Christmas tree. We put up the Christmas tree, unpacked a box or two, because he's like, we have to unpack all the boxes to be moved in. Like, yes, we got Cyrus the Cypress today.
Very cool.
Because we name everything after book characters. So
I do too. Our Emma is named after Emma Watson, not necessarily a book character, but because she played Hermione, who I identified with as a kid. Surprise. And because Oliver is named Oliver Ezra James after Oliver Wood and a character named Ezra from the Starless Sea, which is a phenomenal.
Oh, I have it in hardcover right next to my copy of The Night Circus.
I read that one too. Erin Morgenstern is amazing.
But
they're definitely like hardcore visualization type books. You need to sit with them. They're not an easy read.
No.
But Ezra Rollins became one of my favorite book characters because of his story. And so now our son's name is Oliver Ezra James.
Nice.
So,
nice.
Yeah, name things after books.
PJ, you spelled Cypress wrong. That's the island. The tree is Press. What was in my cousin Vinny's sandwich? It was like a pressed panini, Italian panini, but it had like a cold, like jalapeno pepper dressing, for lack of it. Was not a salad dressing, but like with chunks of vegetables, a spicy veggie concoction. I want to say remoulade because that's not the right word, but anyway, it was really tasty, really spicy today.
Vinaigrette or something? I don't know.
It wasn't a vinaigrette. Like it was like they're pickled, I guess. They were pickled vegetables just chopped up, like really, but like pickled in like a spicy way.
Relish?
That sounds delicious.
Yeah. Like a relish, I guess. Yeah.
So, what do you enjoy most about voice acting, and what is the least favorite part of the process?
The least favorite part of the process is my stomach. Not shutting up. Oh gosh, I don't know the best part. Because sometimes it's nice to just sit and read it, right? Like that I get to read all of these books. But I mean, just the performing, working on accents, bringing characters, telling stories that make me cry or, to that effect in a certain way, just being able to bring that out, bring that to people is just such a beautiful thing. Like I always say that I'm honored and flattered, and it's true that somebody is like, yes, I think you individual person out of how many million people, because I think there are 1 million narrators on ACX, right? You out of these 1 million people are the one who I think will do this the best. Mm-hmm. And I want to give you money to do this. Like it's an honor, and it will never not be. Just all of it. I love all of it.
I think authors can definitely relate to that too.
I have a question, a follow-up. Then you said, books that make you cry. Have you ever been reading and you start getting choked up and you have to like redo the scene because it makes you cry?
Yeah. Yep.
That's hard.
Awesome.
Happened in
Not that you
Jen.
were crying, but just that, you're connecting.
Oh, no. I was full on sobbing. At the end of Savior, I was full on sobbing. Had to re-record that because I had too much snot.
Yeah, she got me too.
I recorded, there's a scene in Alarum, the first book in the Walking Shadows series, about midway through or closer to the end, where I sobbed. Like I could not, and then I had to sing a spiritual. So like, it was like, but it was real. And then I was like, I can't do that. Like, I know she's supposed to be choked up, but that just sounds icky. Yeah, it happens. It happens all the time. What did I just do? Even in things I overshared, she has a meltdown. I cried. Like, I'm a baby. Like,
When I ask you to read this one, I'm going to have to send you tissues like I did to Evie when I edited her book. I made John cry with this one, so
Yep.
sorry
Yep.
in advance. Also,
Yep.
Zach and Hell on here as well have asked to audition for Without You, which is a book that will shatter people into a million pieces. And I'm sorry, but not sorry. So
No, never be sorry.
they become
DM
like real
Darcy.
people,
I'm
right?
prepping DM Darcy's book, As Above, So Below, which is not next, but the one after next. And yeah, she had me sobbing multiple times. I was yelling at her in DMs. I was like, how dare you? And I haven't even done this book like in the booth yet.
Well, and it's got to be hard too. The same thing that I had a conversation with the character artist who did the character art for Wicked Little Rabbit. I did not send her the book first on purpose because I needed her to draw these characters, and she's like, "Yeah, I'll read the book. Here you go." I sent it to her, whatever. After, and she goes, "How dare you?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "I made these people real, and then you did that to them."
How very dare you?
Sorry.
Yes.
It's got to be similar. It's got to feel like they're real people, you know, because you're giving them a voice.
You have to be them, so.
Right. And then it's like
Oh
watching
my
a little part of
gosh,
yourself
she
go
would
through
be
it.
perfect for Enid.
Yeah.
Paige is booking up quick, so if you are interested in having Paige's vocal services, you should probably contact her.
Enid was awesome. I was like, yes, I am living my old lady life here.
Yeah, she was fantastic. I absolutely love the Fate of Magic series. You know who else I harass about writing the third book? DM. I don't know what it is about book 3s, but y'all get
They're
stuck,
hard.
and I have
okay.
to stand over you.
All right, there are too many DMs going on here. We've got DM Sword Out. I've got DM Darcy, whose book As Above, So Below is what I'm doing. And then DM Van Cura writes sci-fi. So I need you. I'm going to start addressing you all by last names, and I mean it lovingly. So like in a sports loving way, like, hey, Darcy. Okay, I have permission.
Get over your third book hump, and then hopefully y'all will be good.
Yeah, well,
and I don't have to harass y'all anymore.
There's a lot of things you have to start tying together in book 3, even if it's not the end of a series. So it gets very complicated. Legacy is the backstory of Corinne and Elizabeth and how all of this mess got started. So there's a lot of origin and explaining and bringing in characters. And
all I hear is excuses.
Well, listen, you make Corinne talk to me, and then we'll get there. Anyway,
I got it.
So, question for you. How do you decide which books you're going to narrate, and is there any automatic yes or no criteria for you?
I mean, earlier, automatic no was conservative, like right-wing stuff. Like, no, I'm done. Before I didn't have a problem, now I'm done.
Well, if
but
you're
other
going to put
than
your
that,
voice to it, I mean, it feels
right.
like you should probably have some sort of stake in it, especially if it's political leaning.
Right. I mean, I don't mind. Like, I actually enjoy doing nonfiction on occasion because you learn a lot about things. So honestly, I don't necessarily mind reading it to educate myself. But at this point, there's something about me giving voice to it that I do not want. And that's fine. There are plenty of people who will. Right. And that's fine. But other than that, no, I don't really have any kind of hard lines.
There's no
I just finished a dark romance. I'm sorry?
There's no tropes or triggers that you're just like, nope, I'm not doing it.
Mm-mm.
I know everybody has different boundaries, so we are always curious about that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's all acting. If there are things that concern me, if I run across it in the manuscript, I may mention something. Generally for me, that's also if it's someone who looks like me writing slurs about something, then I'm like, do we really need to do that? Because that seems kind of lazy.
Right.
It seems unnecessary, but so I don't like perpetuating that. But in terms of like, I just finished a dark romance where there's on-page CSA.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it's just part of stories and like horror and all. I mean, I did a memoir where that's the entire memoir. So I don't know. Those stories need to be told, even if it's hard subject matter. So, in other words, and also, like, a lot of it is fiction. Like, I'm not going to judge you for what you choose to read in your free time.
Yeah, which is good because there's a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you have any routines that you do to get ready to narrate? I know, like, I'll get me my big cup to drink, and I'll put on my background noise. Some people listen to music, others they can't have anything. What do you do to get ready for your narration?
Well, I have to drink at least a pot of coffee.
Yes.
And then this just gets filled up with water. Other than that, no, not really. It's eventually just getting my butt down here and getting in the booth.
You don't have to do vocal warm-ups or anything like that?
I should do that more often. I did it a lot in
Just
Richmond because
that good.
I was getting up at 3 a.m. and I would do the 16-minute vocal warm up because at that time of day I was usually very like bleh.
Yeah.
But if I'm not getting in the booth now until noon, 1 p.m., I've been awake and speaking long enough that generally that may or may not be necessary. If I do feel crispy or tired, then I might do some sirens and some vocal stuff, but I don't do it as often as I did when we were in Richmond.
Do you find that you have to do it more if you're doing like really low or really high register characters, or?
No.
Okay.
No.
That's cool.
Do you do funny voices to the cats?
What do you mean?
Like, do you talk while you're feeding the cats? Do you talk with a British accent?
Do I talk with a British accent? PJs in my life is kind of a scene, so it really depends on what's going on in that particular scene. But no, mostly we talk to the cats as if they're like people, because they are. Like, we yell at them. So, I don't know. We don't really do I do any weird accents with the cats? PJ would know better, because half the time I don't even know what's coming out of my mouth. So.
Because my girls, they will come in and start talking to me with a British accent that they are horrible at, by the way.
Nice.
Letting you know. And they'll come in and just start talking to me all weird. I don't know why. Right? And then they try doing other like Irish, and I'm like, that's not an Irish accent, but okay.
But that's how we learn.
They just come in. I'm like, why are you talking like that?
But that's how you learn. That's how you learn your voice too, and what it can do and what it's capable of. It doesn't have to be accurate right now.
Do you have an accent that's more challenging than the others?
Anything from that involves a tightness of the jaw. So Northeast, like Boston, Minnesota, all of that kind of stuff. It's very like, yeah, Minnesota, it's all very right here because I was in, a voice major and all of that was drop your jaw, no jaw tension. So, yeah.
Well, I can help you with the Midwest if you need help with that, eh?
Thank you. Thank you.
If you're looking for like a hodgepodge of accents, right here. I've been all over. I pick up things as I go.
Just go grocery shopping with me. You'll hear everything you need to hear to do anything Midwest. Oh, sorry about that, eh? Anyway.
Let me ask you.
I think I hear "ope" about 1,000 times a day, and people like apologizing for literally just existing. That's the whole thing over here.
My
What's the
favorite is
easiest?
yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah, no.
You have whole conversations with 2 words. Yeah, no. What's the easiest accent for you?
Easiest, the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, your natural
besides
accent.
besides general American, I don't know.
You do Southern very well.
Thank you. I was gonna say something either Southern or New York. I do Russian pretty easily. I do like RP London pretty easily. And those are the ones that I'm like, yes, they're on my site. You can ask me to slip into those, and I do them pretty well.
Well, you have a Russian background too with your studies, so that probably
I
helps.
do, yeah. Russian is something I go right into. It's like no thought at all, just very like.
And you have some experience speaking with Latin, you said, just kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, voice major. I had to study French, Italian, German, Spanish, both Castilian and Espanol, and Latin. So.
Very cool. So, how many books do you have going right now, or do you only do one at a time?
I only record one at a time. I will then the amount I'm prepping, it depends. But I only ever am recording one at a time. Like the amount of characters and being in the story, like switching between them, I don't think I would like that very much.
Nope. What does prepping involve?
Well, reading the book. Also, for me, it is highlighting. I tend to pick colors based on the vibe of the character. And so when I see those colors, not only is it telling me who it is, but it's telling me what those vibes are. So if somebody is in fact an extrovert, guess what? They're yellow. Like, The main character is usually like a seafoamy green, like in my logo. And then if there's like a secondary femme main character, it's like orange. Because usually when I'm selected to do something, it's because I sound the way I sound, right? So they're probably more like me anyway. Not always, but sometimes. The majority of the time. And then, yeah. Yeah. If it's a duet, I just cross out, I draw a red line through the male line so I can still read what he's saying, but I don't say it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And if there are accents or anything I need to learn or pronunciations that I need to figure out or talk with the author, making notes of those, making character notes, like, you know, if it says that they have a gravelly voice or a high, sweet voice, or they talk gently, just making notes like that to give myself that kind of just relation.
Do you do it on the computer or on paper?
I do it on my phone.
Okay.
Google Keep.
Yeah. So it's all digital for you, so then you can use it on different
cross platforms. I do have a notebook, but I started just using that for like classes instead of just writing everything down. Because then I'm like, okay, let me find the page that it was on and
Okay. I know authors do it differently too. Like, for example, Caitlin Brooke, I don't know if you've met her, but she does everything in a notebook first and then types it all up on the computer afterward. And I'm like, I think my hand would fall off. Like, I don't think I could do that. So I'm always curious how that works for everybody else. I cannot hold on to this ball today. Save my life. Sorry.
So, as authors, we deal with writer's block, right? She's having problems with Cursed Souls book 3. I'm having trouble with all 48 of my whips. Is there an equivalent of writer's block, like narrator's block or something and how do you deal with it?
Yeah, I mean, there are days where I'm like, ugh, I really just don't want to go in the booth today. I'm just not feeling. I'm not energized. I'm not connecting with the story that day or something. I either take a day off and do something else, or you are like, I am a professional. This is my job, and I have to do it. It's never going to be perfect, right? It's never going to be perfect. We are only the best that we can be on any given day. And so that's what you bring. And sometimes your best is going to be phenomenal. And sometimes your best is just going to be good.
Yeah.
And you have to make the determination on what you want that to be.
Do you ever find you have to re-narrate something that you do on one of your off days because you just weren't feeling it when you get back the next day?
I don't listen to what I did previously. If it comes back to me in post, like, this didn't sound like so-and-so, then I'll fix it in post. But unless I'm usually, if I've made it to the booth, then generally I am aware of what is coming out of my mouth. So I try and catch it then. And even in the booth, if I'm having like a good, like a dead, I don't want to be in here a day, I'll be like, stop. Someone is trusting you. This is important to someone. You have to give yourself that pep talk. And if it's not working, then I will just leave the booth and be like, I can't do this right now. And it won't do it justice if I try.
Yeah. So. I know there are days when I sit down and I try to write and I rewrite the same paragraph 16 times. I'm like, screw this, I'll do it tomorrow. Like, yeah. Sometimes getting anything out is better than nothing it out, though.
Yeah. And sometimes it's just getting in the booth. Like sometimes it's like, oh, I just don't want to get in the booth. And then when I do, I'm like, why didn't I want to get in here? I love this. Like, this is great. Everything's fine.
When you're tired and you want to shower, but you're like, oh, it's so much work. So I have to go over there and turn the water on and do all the cleaning. And you're like, but then when you get in the shower, you're like, oh, this is nice.
Yeah, it's a nice shower. It's like warm and like massage. Yeah, 100%.
That's the neurodivergence, because you're not thinking it as take a shower or narrate this chapter. You're thinking of it as going to there, turning this on, turning that on, doing this. You're thinking of all the little steps to do this one thing. And when you break it down into 10, 20 steps, you're like, wow, that's going to be exhausting. I'm exhausted just thinking about it.
It's a lot.
I know you do a lot of narrating on live when you can. And sometimes you have to go through Discord because of the content and such. But do you feel that helps you with your narration to have a body double kind of thing going on?
It helps me certainly be more accountable. There are definitely times where I'm like, I can't do this on here either because I'm insecure about something or self-conscious. about something where I'm like, I need to go and be by myself for this. But yeah, I generally do find that like if I have a body double, I'm less likely to be like distracted. I can't be distracted if I'm on TikTok live because I can't access other things on my phone. Like it's right there. I can't go check all
Can't
the other
doom
things.
scroll.
So
It's
yeah,
my body double.
yeah.
Now that brings up the whole question of imposter syndrome, which I know wasn't on the original list, but something that's important to discuss. Imposter syndrome strikes narrators and authors equally. So how do you deal with the imposter syndrome?
Actual imposters don't feel imposter syndrome. So if I am feeling it, then I'm doing what I need to be doing. I believe I am good at what I do, but I always believe that I can be better. And as we were talking about earlier, I go back and listen and I'm like, oh, what was that? Like, I would be so much better now. And that's just part of the journey. There's certainly envy when I see like a book that I really wanted that somebody else got. There's certainly envy, but also joy for them. And part of that too. And it's something I have to deal with a lot because envy is one of my like one of my stuff is my if you're into Enneagrams, I am a 4 and envy is their deadly sin. And I feel that. It's something I'm constantly wrestling with. But at the same time, I have to look at like, okay, here is what you've accomplished. Here is what you are going to accomplish. Here is the stuff that people have given you. People have trusted you. They're not going to trust an imposter.
Right.
I mean, well, I say that, but then, the election. But anyway, generally, if somebody cares about something, they are not going to give it to somebody they don't believe will do a good job.
Right.
And it is always my goal to do a good job. And hopefully people are happy with that product.
Well, I mean, I know I have been, so you're doing a great job. Just saying.
Thank you.
So I'm trying to make my keyboard work. So I'm not ignoring you. I'm multitasking.
I am also completely motivated by spite. So in here I have a fortune cookie that says the best revenge is massive success.
Yes.
So
Yes, through spite, all things are possible.
Right?
Absolutely. Well, my whole, backstory thing, and a certain someone had me blocked on everything, and then I decided to unblock that certain someone, and I was like, watch me win. That's currently a strong motivator for me.
Yes,
Guys.
the best revenge is living your best life and saying fuck the haters.
Yeah.
Very much. Because here's the thing is that a lot of the people who don't like you want to see you fail, and that vindicates them in their perspective about you. So the more successful you are, the happier you are, the less space they take up in your mind, the better off you are, and the worse off they are. And it doesn't cost you anything, and you don't have to be mean. You just have to keep doing what you're doing.
See,
Just keep on living your life.
The passive aggressive thing, because there's someone in my life I cannot stand, and I cannot legally get rid of them. And I just whenever I'm forced to interact, I'm like, who are you? Like, they have it in their head that I'm sitting there conspiring, and I don't think about you at all.
Yeah.
You're not worth my time, and it pisses them off so much, and I love it.
It is very satisfying. I'm not gonna lie.
Like, I don't have time. I'm sorry, my calendar is booked, so I don't have time to think about you.
Mm-hmm.
We have this conversation a lot. It really does cost nothing to take the high road and be kind and just put things behind you. And the thing is, both being a narrator and being an author, you become a public figure. You have a position that you need to uphold. And, with Friday Night Writes, our whole purpose is to uplift, right? And to try to just push the controversy aside and support people and not be all dramatic all the time and not do the whole rage bait for clicks thing. Like, we just want to feature Paige Reisenfeld. We just want to feature whoever we have on that night, because this really is a community. And when you do the right thing, generally speaking, the community is with you, and we can make the community a better place that way. Because sometimes people get together and stuff ensues.
I get that also, D'Artagnan. Like, the Scorpio in my 4th house is also with you on that. But also, I'm just like,
too, so am I.
Karma's
I'm still in person too, but the real world, though, we have to be the person we want to leave the legacy behind for. That's the thing. So
I mean, I'm okay with the legacy of vengeance though too. Like
Sometimes it's
Right?
totally
As
necessary.
long as it's
sometimes.
spectacular.
Yes.
So, this kind of feeds into, talking about haters and imposter syndrome and everything. Your mental health. Like, how do you handle, like, what do you do for your mental health, and what do you do to recharge when you're just feeling just bleh?
What's mental health?
That up there with like life balance.
Rest, stay off.
When it was nice out, PJ and I were going for walks like around the lake here. That's just like down the street. Cuddling with cats is always a good thing. Um, we have a treadmill where occasionally I was walking. I feel better when I work out, but also it's one of those things where I'm like, oh, I don't want to work out. I have to put on workout clothes and I have to download the video and I have to
Process.
do the thing and then have to shower. And like, when am I going to do that? I have to eat first so I don't pass out, but I can't eat too much because then I'm like done with my meals for the day and my stomach's going to rumble for the booth. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Everything
Yeah.
is hard.
Yeah.
Well, I have another question for you because it's something that we discuss as authors, but like, do you read your reviews or do you just stay out of the review space or?
I do. I do for looking to see if there is a pattern in what people are saying. You're not going to be everybody's cup of tea, right? Like, and that's the other thing about dealing with imposter syndrome is like, I've gotten awful reviews. But you know what? So has Scott Brick. And so has Hillary Huber. And so has, Saskia Marleveld. Like, and they're all people I worship, who I would love to be half as good as. So that's okay. If you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea, and that's fine. Not everybody's going to know you because there's a million people. So like the whole like, I don't know, I've never heard of you doesn't mean anything. And also you have now, huh? But like,
But you have heard of me.
but you have heard of me now.
The Jack Sparrow effect.
So just, yeah. So I'm generally, when I'm looking for something specific, a pattern of something specific. There was a review I got actually for Calamity that said that I did a sing-song kind of narration. And I listened back and I did notice myself doing that. And I was like, okay, what is that? And then I had a class with January Lavoie, fantastic narrator who I worship. And she was like, it was good, but your cadence made me tune out. And I was like, oh, interesting. Okay, what am I doing? So I scheduled a coaching session with PJ Oakland, fantastic narrator, thousands of books. And he was like, let's figure this out. And what it came down to, he was like, you were going through the motions. When you get into a sing-song, you're going through the motions. You weren't connected to the text. So it was an easy problem to solve, but I didn't realize I was doing it until I saw multiple things pointing it out. And even now, I will still go into that and be like, stop. You said that the way you said this other thing, you were not in it. So.
Yeah, and it's one of those things you pick up on a lot of that as an author as well when you look back at your old things. Like I've noticed that I have a cadence to my writing, and then if I don't hit it, that I don't like what I've written. And so if I'm having a bad day, it's my sentence structure most of the time, not the content. Or I'm trying to write too much transition and not as much action as I should be writing, And some of those things come up in reviews, and they are very helpful. But they are definitely not always a happy place to be. It can be tricky. So
I tend to over-explain things, which is funny because I don't like info dumping or, like, God, we got it, let's go, move on with the story. But when I'm writing, I do a lot of that. And then during my first round edits, I have to go through and be like, I already said that. Like, I already, not necessarily the repetition using the same word over and over again, but I'll have like 3-4 paragraphs that I can condense into one.
Or the circling back thing we looked at.
Well, the few times in Abyssal, that was on purpose. I left it. I was like, no, dude's drunk as fuck, so he needs to spiral. But
sometimes we do that unconsciously,
Yeah, and when I'm having them in like a panic mode, then yeah, it works. It fits what's going on. But I'm talking about just like regular, they're walking down the street, and it's like the same thing over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah, I was as an author, I got bogged down in the like minutia, like to the tiny details of things. Like I went and I walked over here and I brushed my teeth and I brushed my hair and whatever when I started writing. And I was like, people don't need to know that. And I realized I could just say, I got ready for my day, and they'll fill in the blanks. They don't have to, cry 30 times or eat food for 6 hours in the same book. Like, it's not something we have to do. We assume that our characters will do that. But it's all part of that learning process too, and some of that I did pick up through reviews, so they can be very, very helpful.
Yep. And then there's the ones that are like, oh, the pronunciation was wrong, and I'm like, where are you from?
Right.
Where are you from?
Doing British English or American English?
I had a review.
Regionalisms.
Yeah.
They didn't like Unbalanced because I wrote it in the third person
Right.
point of view. So of course it's narrated as such, and they were like, I didn't like the he said, she said, they said, and I'm like, that's how it's written though. Like,
yeah. I got one that was like, the narrator doesn't fit the character, and I'm like, well, the author who wrote the character disagrees. Right. So, and those are, it's all subjective, right? It's all subjective. So when it's like I said, when looking for a pattern, then it's something I will take note of, but otherwise.
Yeah. I've had people stop by my table at craft shows, for example. I was, this older woman, I think she was probably in her 70s, stopped by and asked me about my books on a Sunday with her like big cross necklace on and stuff. I'm like, oh, honey, before she even started, I'm like, these ones are probably not for you, but I'll give you the spiel anyway, and I went down the table and I got to Wicked Little Rabbit, and she goes, you should be ashamed of yourself. And I was like, I'm not, but have a great day. I hope you find a different book you'd like to read.
Why would I be ashamed?
It is what it is. And if we were everyone's cup of tea, it would be a very boring world.
True facts.
So.
True facts.
And you've talked a lot about other narrators that you have worked with and people that you look up to, but who are the narrators or maybe even authors that have inspired you in your narrator journey?
Inspired me.
No, inspired's a big word. That doesn't have importance to it.
Yeah. I mean, definitely PJ Oakland. Actually, I had a fellow narrator bought my very first session with him because I was struggling so hard, and she was like, I know how much you love him. And we were having issues with money at the time because I couldn't narrate as much and like the pandemic anyway. So she ended up buying me a session with him, and just everything, just pages and pages of notes of everything he said, and he never says anything in a mean way. It is always, how can you be better? How can we level you up? Versus like, that was awful, or I don't know what to do here. It's always, here's how we can break this down. And so I have like little blurbs from him all over that I can just go back to, like little 3-word things that he says that I can say. I mean, Ruthie Bowles is completely inspirational. Like everything that comes out of her mouth, I'm like, man, I wish I said that. I wish I was as smart as her, as emotionally mature as her. And she takes stands. She has got a bravery that is incredible. And I'm now starting to find that. And I find that I wish I had that a couple years ago when she was struggling. But I have it now. So, but she's incredibly inspiring. Allie Dane, who works a full-time job and is now killing it, getting these pub titles like she freaking should because she's awesome. I mean, I have a bunch of narrator friends who are constantly inspiring because they care about the craft, right? It's not about who they get the work for or how often they get the work, but what we discuss in terms of the craft, in terms of the industry, and the fact that they want to be better and make it better is what I find inspiring. So, yeah. And as for authors, I always want to be better for authors. Authors are all inspiring to me because I can't write for shit. So I'm just
Sometimes
like, yes, all of you, like, you all are amazing. And also, I wouldn't have a job without you. So that is also incredible.
That's
so
what we tell
thank
readers.
you.
It's the same thing we tell readers. I wouldn't have a job without you. And they're like, thank you so much for writing this book. I'm like, hell no. Thank you for reading this book.
It's a very symbiotic, dare I say, parasitic relationship. Like we're all connected and feeding off of each other.
Little puzzle pieces in a bigger puzzle. And I actually learned quite a bit from Ruthie when I was writing The Ruin about diverse character representation in a novel that doesn't have diverse main characters. because the ruin was set in modern day Baltimore, which, if you know anything about Baltimore, is a very ethnically and socioeconomically diverse community, especially after everything that happened on there with the riots that were, I think, in like 2015 around Johns Hopkins. And there's a lot of history down there about cancer treatment and civil rights and all sorts of things. So I asked Ruthie a question just on one of her videos, and she made a video response very kindly and gently telling me how I could be more inclusive, even with a main cast of characters that were Caucasian. And I actually changed quite a few things in the ruin because of Ruthie's feedback, and it was so very helpful. So yeah, this community that we've created is awesome. I love it here.
So we had Katie. I don't know if she's still here in the comments or not, but she had asked earlier about people getting started into narration. So what type of equipment, like tools, do you use? I know there's different kinds of mics and software and everything, but what do you use?
I have a Lewitt LCT 540S. And I use the Lewitt Connect 6 interface now, and you can actually buy them as a package together, but you don't have to. I use a Microsoft Surface Pro 7 as my recording station, and I use Reaper as my DAW. I'm trying to think of anything else. I think that's everything.
For someone starting out, do they need to jump in the deep end and get like the super high-end mic and software and stuff, or can they, I don't want to say skate by with the cheap stuff, but like, is there a good starting range?
Yeah, I would not jump in. I mean, I don't need a $4,000 microphone. And honestly, a lot of the cheaper microphones are excellent dupes for the big names. The reason you buy a big name is because you want to show that you have the big name. Half the time, the technology makes no difference. I started out on the Rode NT1A. Generally not recommended for femme voices or a lot of nasality, but my voice is lower and I don't have a lot of sibilance, so I was able to make it work. But that comes packaged with the Focusrite 2i2 interface for like $250, $300, which is really good. And it's an excellent microphone. I did my first, I think, 25, 30 books on it. And the reason we got a new one was because PJ is a little too nasal for it. So it was picking up a lot of that extra nasality. So we went and got a different mic. He uses that one now, the AT4047 SV, which is also an excellent microphone. But the AT2020, excellent starter mic, and I think it's $200. And there is somebody I know who uses an NT1, not the NT1A, but the Rode NT1, which I think is also $250, $300. Big narrator, and has like 600 books on that microphone. So I think Allie uses the Stellar X2, which is either I think it's a Neumann or it might be a TLM dupe, and it's like $250. There's no reason to drop thousands of dollars. The most important thing for getting into this is treating your space, especially if you want to buy an expensive mic, because that expensive mic is going to pick up every single rumble that you've got. Mm-hmm. So the sound treatment is the most important thing.
I know an author that narrates their own audiobooks and uses a Yeti because they can't afford it. And she was like, the Yeti's not great, but it passes sound check. And it's all about just being in the right space to make sure that the sound isn't bouncing and listening carefully to your files to make sure that you're not picking up on things you don't want. Mm-hmm. So everybody has to start somewhere.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the USB mics now are getting better. The reason most people went with XLRs is just because of the technology involved and the frequency involved. USBs were not picking up a lot of the extra stuff and couldn't handle the highs and the lows that we have. They're getting better.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
See, I could never narrate because, like, even if I went and bought the really cool equipment and stuff, I live right next to Fort Sill where they shoot artillery.
Yeah.
All the time, my house rattles.
Yeah.
I'd be in the middle of a sentence and just boom.
Yeah. Yeah. That might be like a midnight to 2 a.m.
No,
shift.
They do it all. The only time they don't do it is when there's lightning. But then I have to deal with thunder.
Yeah. Well, DM Rosie says it helps not to have noisy pets. This is also true. I also could not narrate because I have two children who are aged 3 and 7, and they never, ever, ever stop talking or listening to something on the TV. So
we have to
meds take my voice away.
Yeah, we have to put the kittens upstairs, and because they will boop, 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 boop on the door. as anyone who used to watch me in Richmond knows.
Yeah.
Yes, they're not as bad as a rooster, but Dresden and Odin would sit outside my door and be like, meow,
Mom, you've been in here forever.
like, yeah. And then they come in and then they purr, which is, we love that, but does not pass sound check.
Yeah. Well, that's sort of how they became famous, isn't it? They were always trying to get in the booth.
Yep. Yep.
Now, do you have any advice
They did, Jen.
that goes towards people who want to get started as a narrator? Anything important for them?
Again, the sound treatment is the most important thing. Get training, get coaching, because you don't know what you don't know. And, I've been doing this for 3.5 years, and I still learn. I know people who've been doing this for 15 years who still get coaching. It keeps you fresh. It keeps you engaged. It keeps you honing your craft. You don't have to go out and spend. If you're like, oh God, I don't have like $200 to spend on an hour-long session, like sign up. There are group classes. There are people who will do consults. Like, do you think I can even do this? There are free resources online if you don't have the liquid capital right now to spend on that. Just don't fall for the scams that are like, pay me $400 for, I don't know what they are, but like just vet your resources.
That's good across any field. We've had a lot of conversations on here about vetting publishers and vetting editors and things too, because people will claim to have skills or access to resources that they do not have. And unfortunately, money is a huge motivator.
There's authors on here that are like, if you buy my class, and then it's just information you can get on the internet for free.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not a big fan of that. Not a big fan of that. If the info is free on the internet, like I'm not paying you for it.
Well, and gatekeeping helps no one is the thing. So a lot of people are more than willing to answer your questions. Just don't come to them expecting them to build your whole career for you,
Right.
Come with some educated questions that you would really like answers to, and make sure that you're respectful to those people.
Yeah. Just do your research. Do your research before you purchase anything. Do your research. And then sound treatment and get coaching.
So this is your reminder again that we are doing a rehoming for 5 books being made by Brian Scala, Dealings in the Dark by Samantha Moran. We have Girl of Hearts, the book 1 in the Luck God series by J. Gabriel Gates. 'Tis the Season to Be Bitten by P.S. Nail, and When They Disappeared by Addison Michael. So if you would like to be entered for your chance to win, drop the headphone emoji down in the comments, and I will add you to our wheel of names.
PJ's down there dropping mics. Yeah.
Those are expensive. Don't drop those. Yes, Jen. Dresden liked to get up on the tops of the booth. And then he would just jump down like it wasn't 8 feet.
Yeah, my cat did that on top of the refrigerator once, and I had to take her to the emergency vet. I'm like, dude.
Luckily, I have not had to do that.
Make sure you also like and share this live. We want to get eyes and ears on the amazing Paige Reisenfeld, because she has so much to share with you. She is a wonderful resource in this community. And if you have not already, please go follow her, because she is awesome. While Evie's doing the awesomeness spinny wheel, we're going to jump into some fun questions, just kind of like playful questions for the evening. So I'm going to start with, what is the best gift you have ever been given?
Best gift I've ever been given? PJ Freeborn. I mean, he did bring me home a blind cat and his brother, so yeah.
Those are adorable. It makes me want to throw up little hearts.
Yeah.
They really are super cute together, though.
They are.
This next question is probably the most important question that you will be asked in your entire life.
Oh, God.
Okay? What is your favorite dinosaur?
Probably the T-Rex. I mean,
Classic.
Yeah, like the Dilophosaurus doesn't exist as it was portrayed in Jurassic Park. So if it did, that would be my favorite, because I'm all about like acid spit. But since it didn't exist that way, we're going to go with the T-Rex. And I have many T-Rex memorabilia, so that just seems like the right thing to do.
That's the one in Jurassic Park with the little gills that like flared out.
Yeah. He's like, meep, meep.
I like that one.
Yeah.
Too bad it wasn't that way.
Right.
All right. If you could go back in time, what year would you travel to?
See, I want to say the 40s because of the fashion, but the World War II just kind of puts a damper on that. And like, again, 1880s for the fashion, but like, I don't know. The history kind of sucks
Yeah, it kind of
in that
does.
regard. So I truly don't know.
Well, you don't have to stay there. You can visit there.
Either the 1940s or the 1880s, just so I can buy all the clothes and then come back.
Fair. Do you know how much money those clothes would be worth now, too?
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
If they serve, oh yeah, when I worked at Bygones in Richmond, we had Edwardian stuff, and it was like 2,000, and they're like 21-inch waists and stuff. So,
I've lost 20 pounds in the last 4 months, and I will never have a 21.
Yeah, no, that's like one of my thighs.
I was gonna say, like when I was at my smallest, that was one of my thighs. So,
All right, so
Anyway.
what inanimate object would be the most annoying if it played loud, upbeat music whenever you used it?
my microphone.
Yeah, that.
That was easy for you. See, we get practical answers or naughty answers with that one.
Mhm.
One person said their pillow, and I was like, I could see that.
I'd
Fair.
be so mad.
I think I might
Yeah.
do that too. Now, I have one question specifically for you. How
Uh
many hats do you own?
oh. Define own. Does anyone really own a cat?
Hats.
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 Oh, hats. Around 60
Where do you keep them?
in my craft room.
So you keep your crafts in your hat room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, see, a lot of my hats were actually in the back of my car for the longest time because when I would go to work, I would just turn around and be like, what hat am I wearing today? And put it on and like walk out. But now I don't have that. Now they're in my hat craft room. So,
That's fair.
and I'm relegated to the orange one when I go out.
Do you hang them on the wall? Do they have like neat little hat boxes? Or
I mean, eventually, sure, that might happen. Right now they're in bags.
geez, Sam, you act like I have my life together. Come on.
I do have a cute little hat rack, which will hold like 6. I have a couple hat boxes, but mostly they're in bags right now.
So for Christmas, PJ, Paige could use some hat boxes, fancy, pretty ones.
No, they're so expensive now. They're so expensive now.
You know. All right, we're going to give you another chance. We're getting close to the end here, but if you would like to be a part of the 5 audiobook rehoming tonight, we have Dealings in the Dark by me, Being Made by Brian Scala, Luck Gods by Jake Gabriel Gates, Girl of Hearts, no, it's number 1, 'Tis the Season to Be Bitten, and When They Disappeared by Addison Michael. Go ahead and drop headphones down there in the comments.
We do have a magical wardrobe.
Is it like Miss Frizzle's school bus, but as a wardrobe?
No, so it's this giant armoire that I got specifically for the craft room because I was like, oh, this will hold all of my craft books and like all of my fabric. The thing is huge, right?
I love
We
it.
can't get it down the hall.
Oh, no.
And it was a showroom piece. So Hooker Furnishings has like a scratch and dent massive clearance sale, and they're based where we are randomly. So we went and we got like 6 pieces of furniture that I kid you not go for like $4,000 on their website each. We got 6 pieces for $550.
Are you serious?
Yeah. They're
That's
all like
impressive.
solid wood and like beautiful. But anyway, one of them is like an 8-foot by, it was 54 inches wide and like 2 feet deep, fully wooden armoire. It does not fit in the craft room. They have secured it as such that we cannot disassemble it. So it is now in our back room next to the TV. And I'm like, well, I guess that's holding all of our sheet music. And now it actually holds all of like the extra bags of cat litter and cat food.
Productive
So-
magical armoire.
Right. But you open it, like it's huge. You have to pull out sticks from the doors and like open it. And it is like the wardrobe to Narnia.
I love it. All right. So why don't you just really quickly let our listeners and our viewers tonight know where can we find your audiobooks? Where are most of them?
Most of them are on Audible. A lot of them are wide, but because of exclusivity and royalty share, and also even publishing companies like Podium, they're Audible exclusives. If you like thrillers, there are 5 thrillers that I have done by Sarah Ennis that are available pretty much, anywhere except Audible. She has them on Kobo, and I think they're free in Kobo Plus. And then
Okay.
Naomi Rawlings is historical, sweet romance, Christian based, but not super preachy, and actually very interesting from a historical standpoint. That I've done 5 of those as well, and she sells those on Kobo and also on her website. So,
Yeah. And
but
I think
mostly Audible.
Audible also puts them on Apple Books, correct?
Yeah,
You have
yeah,
exclusivity with them?
yeah. If you go through ACX, then it's on Amazon, Audible, and Apple.
Yeah. I remember when I saw it on Apple, I panicked because I thought somebody had taken my book and put it on Apple, and we signed a royalty share plus agreement. And I was like,
No.
oh, no.
Nope. Apple has an agreement with the Zon.
But they also disagree with the Zon all the time. It's complicated.
Right. It's complicated.
Yeah.
So if a author wanted to get in touch with you about narration, where can they find you?
My best place to contact me is my email, and it is paige@paigevoice.com. My website is paigevoice.com, and those, like, all of my rates for indie stuff is there, along with my my free how-to guide for audio production for indie authors. It kind of breaks down the different platforms, royalty breakdowns, exclusivity, termination agreements, etc. But yeah, that's the best way to reach out.
And do you have
someone-
any... Oh, sorry.
Sorry, someone in the comments is asking if you do royalty share only.
Not often. PJ and I do try and do it on occasion, to give back to the community that helps us. Kind of like the Bordeaux's, like they'll do their royalty share, like where they handle all of it, but not usually. It also depends on scheduling. It truly depends on scheduling. If I do royalty share only, I am very clear that, like, it will have to take a back seat to the PFH because I have to live and pay bills.
Which is
So,
fair.
yeah.
Yeah.
But we do royalty share plus. So at least cover engineering and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah. Now, do you have to do your own sound engineering if you just do royalty share?
for royalty share only, I do my own sound engineering. Luckily, I live in a place where it doesn't take there's not a lot of extraneous noise. And we've had both of our mastering chains looked at by our sound engineer to help us with that, specifically for like auditions. But we can run it through that chain too.
Which is super helpful.
Yeah.
Now, do you have any events planned for 2024, 2025?
So many. Nothing left for 2024. 2025, PJ and I will be at Charm City in Maryland, which is the first weekend of April. Scheduled to be at Million Lives, which is the first weekend of May, is in DC. I will be at the Right Women's Book Fest in July, and I believe that is the same weekend as Sinful Signing. So I think PJ is going to Sinful, and I'm going to Right Women's Book Fest. So we're going to cross-represent. And then Book Harvest is in October.
I'll see you there.
No, those are the ones we have planned. The Moments?
That's a big one, Book Harvest. It has tons of people coming.
Yeah. And I have quite a few authors going.
Bryn
So
Weaver will be there.
nice.
Butcher and Blackbird and
I was sad I missed Books and Bourbon because I had like 6 authors there and like 4 of them I hadn't met. I was so sad.
Those
Oh
are
yes,
awesome.
SAS. Thank you, Jen. Why is that not on there? Oh, it is on there. It was just the light was like reflecting off that particular weekend. Yes, I'll be at SAS in June, which is in Norfolk, Virginia.
Very cool.
Sorry, didn't mean to scare you, Jen.
Is there anything else you would like the readers, listeners to know?
If you have questions, you can always ask me. Like, I tell authors all the time, like, if you have questions about the process, please feel free to reach out. You don't have to hire me. I'm not going to charge you a consulting fee. I have a free guide on my website that you're welcome to look at and still ask questions about, because especially in all of this like AI and push for that kind of shit, I want you to be informed. I want you to be informed and know what you're getting into. And if I am not the voice for your project, that's fine. There are thousands of others who will do a fantastic job and are just as passionate.
And Paige can even refer you to people if you're
Absolutely.
And that's the thing too, is for Unbalanced, I had a narrator lined up to read for Sebastian, and due to personal issues, which I won't share because it's not my business, he had to drop out, and Allie was like, you should talk to Matt. And I said, well, it wouldn't hurt to talk to him, and he did freaking fantastic.
Yeah, and she can't finish listening to her own audiobook because she has innocent ears, and Matt makes her feel
I'm a
so
married
that way.
woman. I shouldn't be feeling these things, listening to another man read my
Right.
words.
So they are also very great resources. So-
Meanwhile, I'm like pimping out mine. I'm like, you baby, you come and say spicy things into a microphone for money. Thanks.
Yes.
Yeah, I actually considered PJ for Wicked Little Rabbit, but because I know PJ, I couldn't do it. I was like, I can't have PJ reading those words.
Yeah, it's like, it's weird because like I'll see like the thirst traps and all that stuff on here. I'm like, oh, that's hot, and I just, I can go about my day perfectly fine. But another man reading the words I wrote, like it made me uncomfortable, and
It's fair.
and I
Right.
couldn't do it. I was like, I'm sorry, Matt, if you messed up in those few chapters. Oh well.
Right. Well, and with Matt for Wicked Little Rabbit, I was on Thirsty Thursdays, and so I was like, oh, well, I already heard him read those words, so I guess I can, because he did a good job. So I was like, okay, I'm not as innocent now. All right, last chance if you would like to be a part of the massive 5-book rehoming tonight for Dealings in the Dark by Me, Being Made by Brian Scala, 'Tis the Season to be Bitten by P.S. Mail, Girl of Hearts by J. Gabriel Gates, and, sorry, the last one, When They Disappeared by Addison Michael. Go ahead and drop headphones down there in the comments. And we are going to go ahead and spin that wheel in just a moment.
that wheel.
I did want to take a second just to thank you for coming on here with us because we are super excited to have you.
Yes.
I know I
Thank you
messaged
for
you and I was like,
having
hey, did you want to?
I was like back in July or something like that too.
And now we're booked all the way through the end of September next year. So we are constantly taking applications.
We're almost to November. We're booking
Nice.
in October now.
Nice.
yeah.
I love that.
And we're constantly taking applications. There is a link in each of our bios, mine, Evie's, and Brian's. So if you would like to try, we book up fast. But we will definitely contact you. So let us know. We're probably going to close it once we book 2025 temporarily because that's a lot of people and we don't know what's going on with this app. So we're going
But
to
if
find
you
out.
want to be on the show, check out the Schmink and the Schmios.
Yeah, but if something does happen to this app, we will be moving over to another platform. We also do post these on YouTube to try to get as much eyes and ears on our guests as possible. So that way, if you missed any part of Paige's interview tonight, you can find it there probably tomorrow. I have to figure out how to get this video to Brian because he does all that stuff because I don't know how to do it. But that should be up there. And,
Download it and then just send it via WeTransfer.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, download it and then put it on your Google Drive, and then he give you.
that's going to take like
that.
10 hours, but I can. And then last week we did also announce that Friday Night Rights will be putting together a charity anthology in 2025. It's focused around invisible disabilities. The title is See Me As I Am. We're going to reveal the cover in just a couple of months, and we are opening up the application to authors from Friday Night Rights who've already been on the show on December 1st. So you'll be getting more information about that as we go along. And then if we still have spaces, we'll open it up to authors who will be joining us on the show as well because we want to feature you guys. So this is a very important cause. We're going to donate the proceeds to NAMI to help with mental health in our country. So, all right, are we ready?
Wonderful.
Yes.
Da-da-da-da. Where'd you go?
I'm flipping.
Okay.
Flipping. All right. So are we just doing it book by book?
Sure.
All right.
If
So
you
this one
win, contact Paige.
well, I mean, we have the code too, so
That's true. Please follow Paige regardless.
yeah. All right. So this one will be for Being Made.
That's Brian Scala's. It's like a literary memoir fiction kind of thing. It's really good.
It's really good.
Hey, Catalina.
Catalina!
Congratulations.
All right.
And if
So
you already have it, you can
contact-
give it to someone else.
All right. Next one, Dealings in the Dark.
You don't want that
Samantha's
one.
book.
No, Paige nailed it. Oh, Catalina.
Catalina again. Woo!
I sense she's going to be choosing some friends.
All right. This one was
This
Girl
wheel is
Apart.
rigged.
Yeah, this is J. Gabriel Gates. It's urban fantasy YA with OCD representation. Pretty cool. PJ's like, pick me.
Oh, there we go. Phoenix Lynn.
Phoenix.
Phoenix.
Awesome sauce. That is
Yay.
another Michigan author, J. Gabriel Gates. It was about a half hour from me. And the whole series is recorded now, so.
Tis the season to be bitten, right? Is the next one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Isn't The Thief and the Lucky Boy the short that goes with it too?
I think so. Yep.
Tis. That one's available on YouTube for free, I think.
Yeah, I think you can get it through his
All right.
newsletter too. Marissa.
Marchie wins Tis the Season.
Did
All
he
right.
get to meet me? Yeah, he did.
And the last one was what? I can't remember.
When They Disappeared.
Yeah, the thriller.
Hi, Morticia.
There's Kat.
Marchie, I hope you're okay with Spice.
Oh, she is.
Okay.
Catalina again.
Catalina! 3 out of 5. All right.
Awesome. Well, you definitely got rewarded for sticking around. If you do have them, you can
Right?
share them with someone else. But we appreciate you guys being here tonight. We're just going to
We were supposed to remind everyone that the codes need to be redeemed by the end of the year.
Yes.
Yes, please.
So you don't have to listen right away, but you do have to redeem right away.
Correct. Or whoever you give them to, Catalina. And then we're just going to.
I mean, Catalina really deserves them. She shows up to every live that I'm on.
I know.
She's always like, hello.
I feel like she already has them all, though. I'm going to guess.
I know, though. Like, does you already have this? But then she yells at me for not having more credits, so maybe she doesn't.
Fair. All right. So we're just going to quick remind you who we are. I'm going to let Evie go first because she hates to follow me for some reason.
Of course, while the cat's here, like, hey, pay attention to me. I'm Evie Black. Awesome books, awkward marketing, unbalanced, angels, demons, slow burn, forced proximity, Leona, bear shifters, reverse bully. She beats him up. It's a fantastic book. I love it. Lots of feminine rage and, stay out of my personal space or I'll maim you. She does multiple times.
Thick thighs and ends lives.
Yeah, like someone gets in her space and she rips their heart out. It's fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Abyssal, Donovan's a dick, Shadow Daddies, Witches, New Powers, Abusive Relationship.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah, Shadow Daddies for sure. I edited that one. That was whew, okay.
Chapter 25
hi.
is it spicy.
And I'm Samantha Moran. I do horror, thriller, and fantasy. Dealings in the Dark, one of the books we schmived tonight, narrated by the amazing Paige, Witches, Demons, Hellhounds, A Deal Gone Wrong, and 48 Hours to Save Your Soul, Bound and Betrayed, narrated by the amazing Paige, Schizophrenia versus Demonic Possession, Wicked Little Rabbit, Spooky, Spicy, Alice in Wonderland reimagining. Please check the triggers, and I'm so sorry in advance, Matt. Without You, Love, Lost Life After Someone's Gone, like the TV show The Ghost Whisperer, and The Ruin, medical thriller, urban fantasy, and a little bit of romance as well. So I know for Evie and myself, all of our books are on KU. If we have Audible for our audiobooks, or Apple Books, like we talked about earlier. And then, Evie, I don't think you have any more events for 2024, right?
No, not for this year, no. But I'm going to be at Lucky and Lombard in April, and then Sinful Signings July, then the Lexington Book Bash in September, and then Booked in Chaos in November.
Nice. I do have one signing left in 2024, just a craft show at the Lansing Mall in Lansing, Michigan. So you can come see me the weekend before Christmas. I'll be there both days. And if you want to see my insane 2025 schedule, it is on my website. I'm not going to list all of those out loud to you because it would take another 15 minutes. And then just a reminder that this will be on YouTube tomorrow. So I'm going to figure out how to get it to Brian. And next week we're going to have Mama Micah on here, right?
Yeah, Mika Michaels.
Mika Michaels. Yes.
Nice.
Mama, I love her so much.
I've gotten to meet her twice now. She's a very sweet woman. So join us next Friday at 8 p.m. here on TikTok Live. Again, if you want to be on Friday Night Rights, we have a form for that. We are booking fast, but we will contact you. And we do have that anthology coming with more information as soon as we get some authors who are applying. But it does support NAMI, and we're focusing on invisible disabilities, things that you can't see but still impact us all. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you so much for being here. We're sorry Brian couldn't join us, but life was lifing. So we're very, very glad to have had you guys here. And thank you for sharing Paige's story with other people by liking, commenting, and sharing this live. So again, if you haven't followed her, go follow her. I don't know what you're doing. Why? Follow her, okay? And PJ, her partner in crime. Go follow him as well. PJ Freeborn, okay? And we will see you next week.
Bye,
Bye,
everybody.
guys.
Thank you.